What's up, everybody? I just finished the third book in the Fear Street Seniors series. This is The Thirst. I always thought this hand looked like those things that you got as a kid for Halloween with the witch's fingers things you put on the end of your fingers. I always thought that's what that looked like. And I don't know, this one's a little bit more detailed, but it still looks like very 2000s E. This is like the first Fear Street Seniors book that I've actually had. And this is my original copy from when I was a kid. I remember going to this book swap place, and I'm pretty sure it's closed by now. This really old lady, at the time, I was probably like 14. This lady had to be like 60. So, and she ran it. And this was a book swap, meaning you can go in there and trade books to get this. And some of her books she did sell, but a lot of them were just for trades. And I didn't like to trade my books. I would just get, I just pay for them. And they're only like 50 cents, So I was a hoarder back then. I'm a hoarder now. So, the story, this one's a vampire book, by the way. And me and Stein and vampires, I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't say that all of his vampire books aren't great, but they're very underwhelming. And I don't think it's his fault. I'm going to blame Twilight because writing a scary vampire book now is impossible. Like, there's so many things that can defeat the vampires, and I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's ridiculous. These vampires here don't sparkle though, so that's good. There is a thing about this book about, sunlight's supposed to defeat vampires. In this book, they can withstand sunlight, so that's pretty cool. And it's told that they can withstand sunlight. It's not really told why. So, yeah, but maybe they evolved. I don't know. Regardless, this is another vampire book by Stein that, I don't know. In my opinion, this was one of the weaker Seniors books so far. I'm only third one in, so, we're bound to find a dud somewhere. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a bad book, but it has the same problems as the very first in the series, where a lot of stuff happens, and there are some good scenes in this book, but they don't stay steadily good. Like, I'll explain. The story starts off with this girl named Deidre and Dana. All right. And it's their first day of school. Dana is this like cheerleader, all this good stuff. And she's really popular. Deidre is not, she's just kind of more of a shyer type and different things like that. Doesn't get a lot of boyfriends. Dana does. And it makes no sense, really, because they're twins. Like, why? I mean, I don't know. It's cool for differentiating the two twins, but in the end of the day, they're twins. They'd be popular. I mean, I don't see how one could be more popular than the other, but who knows? Anyway, they're going to this. It's the first day of school, getting dressed, all that good stuff, and they're going to cheerleader, like a cheerleading meeting, and Dana is like one of the head cheerleaders, and so she has to get to school early. And immediately when she gets there, she sees a dead body laying on the floor. And nobody's there to do the meeting or anything. And immediately when she gets there, she discovers, this girl dead. So that's like chapter 2. So this is not a spoiler. All right. After this, we go to a funeral. And the funeral is another really good part in this book that's actually really scary. And I thought it was really great. So at the funeral, they all go up to the casket, and talk to her and all this good stuff. And the girl sits up and she says something and she lays back down. And nobody sees it but Deidre and Dana. So Dana gets all of her friends together and they have a seance or whatever, just like in the first book. And I don't even remember who it was in the first book that accidentally brought this cursed thing alive. But yeah, she's there and she kind of says, like, we shouldn't do this because last time this happened, that happened. And the reason I can't remember who done what in this book is there are a lot of characters in this book, and this is Fear Street. So unless you're not like a body count, it really doesn't matter. And one thing I just want to complain about, and this is nothing crazy. I mean, it is what it is. But so many of these people's names are alike. Like, there's literally Deaudre, Dana, Danielle. There's a Marty, a Maddie. No, it's Marty, and like there's another name that starts with an M. They're all very similar, and like none of them, differentiate themselves. Like the twins, I guess, but like the twins have the most character development in all of everybody in this book, other than maybe there's a kid named Clark, and from the first book that's supposedly supposed to be a vampire because he dresses in black, and anyway. After this happens, they have the seance where they want to talk to the girl, and they hear on the news or on the radio that when the girl was found, all of her blood was gone. So they immediately think, it's a vampire. The news outlets are even calling it the vampire murders, which is crazy. I mean, could you imagine something like that happening now? And then, the news people are saying, oh, there's a vampire out there. Yeah. Anyway, after this happens, we go to the diner, and earlier in the book, Deaudre meets this guy named John, and John is just this, very suspicious character, in my opinion. So no spoilers. You automatically suspect that something's up with him right off the bat, and he kind of flirts with Deaudre, and Deaudre doesn't get flirted with a lot, so she takes a shine to him, starts liking him. And they're at this diner, and this guy pops up, John. He comes in with this other girl, and this other girl's got really red hair. We learn later that her name is Anita Black, and John, immediately Deaudre thinks that they go out with each other. So she's a little disappointed because this guy gave her all this attention, and he comes up to her and he talks to her for a little while. And she notices that this girl disappeared, so she thinks they just kind of, pop in. And Deaudre gets up and does something later, and she sees that Clark, the vampire kid, wrote in a journal something about like blood giving him power and all this stuff. And she kind of eavesdrops on him. And there's this girl that's with him. I don't even remember who it is. I couldn't tell you to save my life, probably. But she's really pale, and she looks very tired, and it's supposed to be like, oh well, he's a vampire, so he's pulling all of her life out of her. So yeah, so we got more suspicious going towards Clark, and we cut to this thing where it's some kind of camping thing for like the seniors, and Deaudre accidentally gets knocked into a fire by this Anita Black lady, and she knocks her into the fire. She gets up, apologizes, whatever, and later she starts getting phone calls, receiving letters, all threatening her about like tasting her blood and all this stuff, all this vampire stuff. As they're sleeping, Dana gets bit on the neck, but she thinks it's a mosquito, but all of her life is kind of drained. She's very tired and all this good stuff. And then we cut again. I know this sounds kind of crazy because it's just like scene after scene, but that's honestly what this book is really like. We go from going to the seance thing to camping to a basketball tryout thing, and it's like it felt like Stein couldn't focus on one specific thing, and it's fine to like add additional little plot lines in this because this is a series, and that's fine, but I don't think that worked here. And so we go to this basketball tryout thing, and Deaudre is trying out for the basketball team, and the girl Anita hits her with a basketball, knocks her down, tripping her, and different things like that happen. And so this girl is clearly after her for some reason, but she says it's an accident, whatever. And I guess Stein was trying to make it like not predictable, but this book was very predictable in my opinion. To be fair, I didn't exactly guess who the vampire was. I kind of did, and I kind of didn't. Towards the end, there's like a scene that actually kind of shocked me a little bit, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I think I pretty well predicted it. I predicted half of it, not the other half. And yeah, and I don't know. This book felt kind of weird because it was supposed to be a vampire book, but it was almost barely a vampire book because so much of the other stuff going on. The vampire scenes are good, especially the climax. Climax is really great. I don't think it's as good as his other book in the Fear Street series, Good Night Kiss, I think. I read the first one of those. There's two of them. I haven't read the second one. I read the first one years ago, and the climax of that's great. And this kind of felt like that, but not quite as much. There's a lot of gore towards the end, but I don't think it saved it from this book. Yeah, I think this was just okay. I mean, I don't think it was anything crazy. Nothing super duper great. Coming off of number 2 and into this, it was kind of, kind of not perfect, Like the last one that I read in this series was super great. But yeah, if I had to rate it, I'd give it a 3 out of 5, easy. I don't think it's terrible. I just think this felt like it should have been the first book. Like, in a way, this felt like it should have been the first book. And I'm not sure how I feel about the first book being the first book, because the first book feels like a first book, if that makes any sense. But yeah, this wasn't my favorite. 3 out of 5 for me. I'll show you the step back cover art also. Oops. Yeah, step back cover art. Also, I don't know if I showed you since I already glanced at it. I can't show you guys later on, but there's like a little yearbook thing in this. And later on in the series, because I peeked at some of them when I was a kid, and they have X's across the characters that don't make it. So that's pretty cool. So that's really the only one I'm going to show you, because I'm not sure if they have X's on the next one. There shouldn't be an X on the next one unless, one of the character that got attacked by a vampire is in there. If I had to pick some favorite scenes from this book, I do want to mention that real quick. I like the scene where it's like the vampire's point of view, and the vampire's thirsty, and it's hunting for something, and I thought that was really cool. I wish the whole book would have been just the vampire's perspective. That would have been great. There's also a scene that's just random, but it's like the teacher scene where the teacher's in her home ec class all alone, and she's attacked. I thought that was really good because it was actually kind of creepy. And of course the beginning of the book with the dead body rising up, that was pretty cool. But other than that, that's really it. Like, there's nothing too scary about this. I mean, like I said, though, this is a vampire book, and again, I'll say it again, vampire books are hard to make scary, especially now. Like, vampires are like not anything anymore. I mean, in my opinion, I've never read Bram Stoker's Dracula, so maybe this is a sign to read that. Maybe I'll get a little scared. I don't know. But yeah, The Thirst, episode 3 of the Fear Street Senior series. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I can't wait for one thing I want to mention too about these books is they each take place like 1 month of the year, and this one takes place in September. And I guess my last book was like a summer themed, so I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember, but I'm hoping that the next book is called No Answer. I'm hoping that it's October. Maybe it's a Halloween book. That'd be great. If not, it's fine too. But I know there's a Christmas one. There's one called The Gift, and if I counted it right, I looked at it. I think it's coming. It was published in like November or December, so that'd be pretty cool. I'm very thematic when it comes to reading, so yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. Fear Street Seniors, The Thirst. It gets a 3 out of 5 for me. Did you guys read this book? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you. Bye bye.